Hello everybody! I have heard a lot of things about YINLIN and how to build her that I do pretty strictly disagree with, and I wanted to give my opinion on. For most video guides and theory crafters I've heard from, I almost always hear Void Thunder being the primary recommended set. And in my personal opinion, I don't think it's worth it at all. Now, let me explain. Now, the Void Thunder set gives you about 40% damage bonus on YINLIN, which will result in about 20% overall damage increase, which is really good. And the Moonlit Cloud set gives the person you swap onto after the wielder will get 22.5% attack for basically the length of an entire rotation. And you should be running the Impermanence Heron as well, which will give you about 12% damage on the character you're swapping into, and helps a lot with energy generation on the character. Now, before we get into the numbers, I do want to briefly explain what role YINLIN should fill. It's pretty apparent from her gameplay that she is designed to have very short rotations, which have very high damage per second. So she doesn't have that many things to do that take up that much field time, but while she's on field, she's hitting really hard. While someone like Kalcharo or Encore are designed to be on field for longer periods of time and do a lower damage per second, so more dedicated long-term on-fielders. And you're going to see that reflected here on their damage sheets from Pridwin. I'm going to be using them because there are very few reputable sites for Wuthering Waves theory crafting right now. They are a nice website, I'll be linking them down below. But for one more thing of pretext, these are all assuming level 90, so these numbers are not reflective of what's currently possible. Though it'll still give us the same ratios between characters. So, for a character like Kalcharo, we can see that they have a very nice damage per rotation of 400k and about 32,000 damage per second, which is pretty respectable. And we see very similar numbers on someone like Encore. But when we go over to YINLIN, we see a much lower damage per rotation. But if you look twice, you'll see a much higher damage per second, like we explained earlier. So even though the time she spends on field is much more valuable, the overall damage output she has in the team is going to be less impactful than your main carry. Now that may seem obvious, but take that into account while you're considering what Echo set to give her. We can use her highest damage potential set, which will let her maintain this instead of losing about 20% of it, or we could give her the Moonlit Cloud set, which will increase our carry's damage over the entire rotation by about the same number, 20%. And now things should be coming together a bit more clearly. Losing 20% damage here is a very worthwhile cost if it means gaining the same amount of damage percent here. And keep in mind, this is for standard banner carries in 1.0. So in the future, when we get more carries that can rely more heavily on her already built-in buffs like her Liberation damage bonus and her Electro damage bonus, that's going to make the damage per rotation gap between YINLIN and the carry even wider. And that's not to say YINLIN is bad, it's actually quite the opposite. She does a very, very remarkable amount of damage per second. I think it's actually the highest in the game right now. A character with low field time requirements, high damage output during that field time, and buffing potential is really good. But at the same time, we do have to keep in mind she is still, at the end of the day, a sub-DPS. Not to mention, it does take a very long time to build a proper set, and by the time you get a fully built Void Thunder set, it's very likely these stronger carries will already exist. So by the time that you actually have the fully maxed out Void Thunder set well built, it's very likely there'll be even more reason to run a buffer set instead of Void Thunder on her. That should be just about everything. Make sure to let me know in the comments whether or not you've been farming a damage output set for her, and if this video helped change your mind. Because in my opinion, it is not even close. The Moonlit set is much, much better for her. That being said, if you do like this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. That way it gets boosted in the algorithm and more people can see it. And I hope you have a great day. I will see you later.